If we eat something that God didn't make, we are running the risk of disease. Then we're going to be angry, like I were at only 30 years of age.
I'm going to give you something really fast. When I wake up in the morning, in order for me to maintain my knees in good shape, I can fall on my knees.
What about AIDS? He want to know where the mucus. I said, Your Honor, have you been to an AIDS ward? She said, yes. I said, what is it that the AIDS spits up every 5 minutes? She said, mucus. Where is the mucus?
Whether it's the food labeled heart healthy at the supermarket or the all-natural goodies that promise to boost your health, big health companies are selling lies under the promise of a better life. But you won't find yourself falling for their tricks if you listen to Dr. Sebi.
He offered cures for incurable diseases. He offered hope and life.
Dr. Sebi had brought so many levels of healing to our community. He, like many other could have for surely been a target.
Meet the man who's single-handedly taken on the lonely fight of exposing the food industry. Born in Honduras in 1933, Sebi moved to the United States. He came to the promised land in hopes of treating his diabetes, obesity, impotence, and asthma. But modern medicine closed its doors on him. However, instead of feeling defeated, Dr. Sebi met a herbalist in Mexico who apparently succeeded in giving Sebi another shot at life.
God. I said, of course I do. He said, well, we have to take it up a notch. You have to deliver yourself. But when you deliver yourself to God, you can only do those things and eat those things that God made. He said, young man, please, you have all these diseases. You need to stop eating. He took me away from meat. He took me away from all of the things that we think are good. They're not.
And just like that, Sebi became a champion of health. He dedicated himself to studying a healthier way to live life and spread his message to the masses. His secret, an alkaline and plant-based diet. But how does it work? For context, Dr. Sebi's teachings are based on his personal experiences. He didn't have a white coat or a diploma to solidify his stance. Yet, Dr. Sebi made a lot of headway when it came to uncovering the true workings of a disease. He believed that mucus and acidity were responsible for causing every illness in the book.
There's only one disease. The judge said, what is it? I said, you already know. I said, Your Honor, when someone has sinusitis, what is obstructing the nasal passage? She said, mucus. And when another has bronchitis, what is obstructing the bronchial tubes? She said, mucus. And when another has pneumonia, what's covering the cells of the lungs? She said, mucus. She said, and what about AIDS? He want to know where the mucus.
Based on that, the food we eat falls into two categories: food that can remove toxins from the body and make it more alkaline, and food that makes the body more acidic. Dr. Sebi believed a plant-based diet could help you achieve exactly this. He asked people to abandon animal-based products completely. Remember, alkaline foods are all foods that have a pH greater than 7. But why would you make such a drastic change in the first place? Well, that's why Dr. Sebi believed it's important to understand the truth about the food we eat. Our tables may be full, and we may have a hard time getting around after eating. But wait an hour or two, and chances are you'll start feeling hungry again. So you'll eat again, and before you know it, you'll be caught in a vicious cycle where you're constantly eating and gaining weight. However, Dr. Sebi wanted people to realize something important. When you get hungry, only 1 hour after eating a meal, your body is not telling you to stuff down more food. Instead, it's telling you that the food you're eating is not nutritious and that you need to make a change.
The more you eat, the body keeps saying, I'm still hungry. And you eat some more, and I'm still hungry. You eat some more, and I'm still hungry. And you begin to buy these larger dresses without realizing that your body is talking to you. It is telling us you are hungry.
Dr. Sebi was right on the nose with this one. Modern food is nothing but a mix of unhealthy amounts of refined carbohydrates and artificial chemicals without any of the nutrients. So what do? Give up food? Of course not. Instead, you make better choices when it comes to the food you're putting in your body. According to Dr. Sebi, nature is the way to go.
But if you eat 2 ounces of something natural, you will feel the energy immediately. Why? Because it will assimilate. Assimilation means it's going to go and digest with you. Become one with you.
This also explains why some of us feel tired all the time, despite fueling up. In this case, the best thing you can do is not eat for 90 days. It may sound like the worst advice in the world, But wait till you hear out Dr. Sebi's reasoning. According to him, the food you're eating is poison, which has in fact been proven. Several studies have concluded that highly processed foods, like canned foods, boxed meals, and pre-cooked meats, contain a long list of additives, sodium, preservatives, trans fat, and artificial ingredients that may slow you down. So you might as well not eat in the first place, because considering how harmful today's food is, the best thing you can do for yourself is go hungry.
And 90 days later, I didn't have any disease. I didn't eat anything. I believe what he said. He said, don't eat for 90 days. All of you would say, what? Don't eat for 90 days? Then how am I going to live? How are you going to live? The stuff you eat is killing you. So if you just stop eating it, that's a plus. What is a good breakfast? 3 glasses of water or 4. Why? Because that's electrical.
The same goes for vitamins. Many of us stock up on all kinds of vitamins, believing that they'll turn our lives around. But the truth is that they are yet another scam advertised by Big Pharma for the sake of lining up their pockets. He bases his argument around the fact that these artificially produced vitamins are fundamentally different from the actual food that our body needs.
A vitamin? What do you mean by a vitamin? This is made in a scientific way, a laboratory. We make vitamins. But sir, could I ask the question, is it a fact that the human body is electrical? Yes. Well, if we are to feed and nourish an electric body, should the substance be dead or electrical? It has to be electrical. This is affinity. This is chemical affinity. Body cannot accept a substance if it's dead. It has to be alive, just like you. Well, are vitamins alive? And if they are alive, a vitamin must necessarily have so many electrons per atom. I did not leave my environment to take that of another because I am from the jungle. So as we go to the jungle, we find that we didn't have to know about science and food. But today, you have to know about protein. You have to know about enzymes. You have to know about vitamins. But as we put these things on the board, we would see that that was also a trick.
But you need to put something in your body. Well, here's what Dr. Sebi chose to eat. He discovered something called the God food. He emphasized the need to consume iron in the form of food that God made. Think of yourself as Popeye munching down on spinach.
I was fortunate that at 30 I met someone that introduced me to food, the God food. So I got iron in large quantities, and that is the mineral that is consistent with us, the black people. Iron. The doctors tell you that you're not supposed to take iron because it would bind you. He is 100% right, providing the iron is ferrosulfate. It will bind you. But if it is the iron that God made that we use in our compound, it gives you energy. It makes you, hey, I could do more work and I'm not tired. Well, of course, the body needs energy. And you could only get energy from the substance that God made. Not from aloe vera, not from comfrey, not from peppermint, golden seal, garlic. These are all man-made products.
He also argues that the only reason people fall sick is because there's been a violation. God created us out of natural substances like carbon. And so, according to Dr. Sebi, we have been programmed to consume natural things. But what happens when we break this fundamental rule? When we stuff our body full of additives and preservatives? Well, that's when we fall sick. And though it may sound like Dr. Sebi might be stretching his words, the truth is that this supposed violation comes at the cost of us being stressed and being poisoned. So think about it. Are you willing to make that bet?
Bird doesn't get sick. Elephant doesn't get sick. He needs no vet. The lion doesn't need a vet. Neither is a giraffe or any of the natural animals. Why do we get sick?
If your answer is no, then welcome to the other side. You have successfully broken free from the hold of the food industry. And now that you have crossed over to the other side, you can start your journey by eating healthy. Where do you start though? Well, you can start with Seamoss. Dr. Sebi was a big fan of Seamoss. You see, as the seasons change, most of us end up suffering from weak knees. Once you find it difficult to start climbing the stairs, chances are you'll end up with the doctors who'll hook you up with some meds, and that would be the end of it. But not Dr. Sebi. Even at the age of 82 years, this man was wowing audiences with his physical fitness. Watch him fall to his knees without wincing in pain.
That's Seamoss. Seamoss had me falling on my knees every morning to check her, and if they hurt, then something is wrong. Seamoss is alive. Seamoss is not.
His secret? Seamoss. According to Dr. Sebi, Seamoss is an excellent resource of all the important salts that you need to make your bones strong. And if you're impressed by his falling to his knees, well, wait until you hear about his weight loss journey. At one point, the herbalist weighed around 291 pounds, but he was able to make drastic changes.
I was 291 pounds. Now, I only weigh 120. That's all I weigh, 120 pounds. And trust me, I haven't felt this good in my whole entire life.
How did he manage to do that when losing weight is the biggest problem for most of us? Well, Dr. Sebi realized the culprit in disguise. Once he did, he switched to using plants like Cusca and teosinte, which didn't contain any starch or glucose.
What I've done was to discontinue anything that had glucose. Glucose is the underlying enemy. Whenever you indulge in glucose, it would be difficult to lose fat. Cusca is a plant that the Maya used to use, and they used another one known as the teosinte. I eat those plants. Those plants does not have starch or glucose. You will look at your body losing weight and you're going to get frightened.
And if you think that Dr. Sebi is selling a dream, well, his own life is living proof of how you can turn your life around by making the right choices. He was impotent at 32. But once he started eating right, he was able to become a father at 82. Dr. Sebi also emphasizes the importance of feeding babies their mother's milk. According to him, it's the way God designed things to be, and when we choose to give our kids cow milk or formula, we're essentially going away from the natural order of things, and that path doesn't lead to the best results.
When we believe that the milk of a cow, an animal, is sufficient to afford nutrition to a human body, then one has to question that, because I am not an animal. That's common sense, I think. Animals produces milk for animal babies. Human beings, women, females, produces milk for human babies. But something happened to us that we elect to do just the opposite. Instead of us giving our babies the milk of a female human, we elect and chose to give our children the milk of an animal.
At the end of the day, Dr. Sebi believed herbs and the natural way of life to be the answer for most diseases. And he had good reason too. What did our ancestors use to treat disease before modern medicine came along? In fact, what did Hippocrates use to cure disease? We're pretty sure there was no ibuprofen back then, except of course for the natural painkillers. If our ancestors were able to live a healthy life without turning to chemicals and whatnot, why can't we do that with herbs?
Mr. Hippocrates, 365 years before Christ was even born, this man was healing every disease known to man, establishing the school of medicine known today. You take the Hippocratic oath. So when you take the Hippocratic oath, Your Honor, did Hippocrates use herbs or chemicals? She said, herbs again. Bible says herbs, Hippocrates used herbs. I said, Your Honor, last question, and my case would rest. Is it a fact that the human body is carbon-based? She said, yes. And that the substance that's going to complement the human body has to be carbon-based, because the human body only accepts a substance through the process of chemical affinity. Electric body, electric food. She said, right, carbon-based, herbs again. I said, I rest my case.
And let's not forget that modern medicine makes money off our misery. The medicines that are meant to cure us end up doing more damage than good. And before you realize it, you've signed up for health problems for life. Not to mention that modern medications promote dependence. You take a painkiller and suddenly you're popping pills non-stop. Our ancestors used natural remedies to take care of the flu, but most of us rush to the nearest pharmacy to stock up on antibiotics when we feel a cold coming on. The result? These antibiotics become ineffective with time, and we're left to deal with more serious diseases all on our own. By following these principles, Dr. Sebi claims to have cured Michael Jackson's son. According to him, MJ's son was suffering from a tumor for 5 years. While doctors had labeled his case as a lost cause, Dr. Sebi boldly opened his doors to him and was able to heal him using his way of medicine.
One man, this man is named Michael Jackson. So Michael Jackson saw this recovery. He sent for his son. His son had a tumor on his frontal lobe that was hurting him for 5 years. Omar, his only biological son, came from Norway to Aspen. Michael said, I want you to treat my son. I just came back from Guinea and I brought an herb known as Sia. I put the herb in a bag and I told the boy to inhale, and the boy sneezed 52 times. On the 53rd, the tumor came out at the door, right when he was going out the door.
This was all possible because he chose to ignore the lies Big Pharma and food companies were trying to sell him and focused on finding the truth for himself. And so, he was able to crack the secret to the best possible way to live a life. If you pick up his nutritional guide, you only have to eat the foods listed in the guide. You'll have to drink 1 gallon of natural spring water daily. As for what to avoid, that includes canned and seedless fruits, animal products, hybrid foods, alcohol, and a microwave. But the important question is it as beneficial as Dr. Sebi claimed it to be? Well, plant-based diets have been known to be good for health. According to a 2022 review, a high dietary acid load is responsible for a wide range of diseases, including heart disease, kidney disease, and type 2 diabetes. Meanwhile, vegetarian and vegan diets effectively reduce a person's dietary acid load. Dr. Sebi might have been right about the power of herbs in losing weight since, according to a 2020 systematic review, plant-based diets help with weight loss to a certain degree. Meanwhile, a 2019 study concluded that a plant-based diet can alter the microbiome in your body to reduce the chances of disease. And so, Dr. Sebi's been kind enough to share his health secrets with the rest of us. His herbal mixtures were available under the name Dr. Sebi's Cell Food, and it's changed a lot of lives. However, Dr. Sebi didn't exactly have the smoothest journey. His mission to let everyone in on the secret of health had to be put on pause as he dealt with legal problems. Back in 1987, Dr. Sebi was taken to court for practicing medicine without a license. But when it came down to it, the state couldn't prove that he had been diagnosing people. And so Dr. Sebi walked away without taking any hits. He ended up in court again. This time he was being sued by the state of New York for consumer fraud and had to cough up $900 for making disease-specific claims. Once he cleared those obstacles, the skies remained clear for a short while before the storm hit. He was arrested in Honduras for money laundering and had to spend the last part of his life in prison, where he died from pneumonia in 2016. It's a pitiful end to someone who dedicated his life to serving humanity. But step back for a second and look at the big picture. Some believe that the charges against Dr. Sebi were hardly that serious. Instead, they were fabricated to tarnish his reputation and to remove him from the mic stand so that he could stop spreading his message.
There is a group of people who do not want everyone to be here.
We have cures for a lot of things, but that's not what keeps America going.
Even if that's true, the question is why? Why would someone feel like taking out Dr. Sebi when all he did was sell herbs? Well, the answer's simple. Dr. Sebi posed a significant threat to the entire food and agriculture mafia, whose way of living relied on people buying their lies. If people started learning about all the poisons packaged into the delicious treats that we seem to go crazy over, and made the informed decision to switch to a plant-based diet that Dr. Sebi recommended, there's a high probability of industries losing a huge chunk of customers. No customers means no sales, which means no money. And that's a big no-no in everyone's books. So what's the solution? Take out the man who poses a threat to the system. However, big companies seem to be forgetting one thing. Dr. Sebi was just as serious about spreading his message as they were about bagging millions. Despite the obstacles before him, the herbal doctor continued to move forward. Though he may be long gone, his videos continue to trend on social media platforms, bringing change one person at a time.
He was all about his people, but he wanted to help all people, and he did help all people. And what he did, he just stripped down their diets and put them in environments.
The efforts to prevent Dr. Sebi's words from spreading to the general public even went as far as stopping Nick Cannon from making a documentary about his life. I guess the herbalist posed a significant threat to the mafia for them to take such serious measures.
It's not a small feat by any means, but my goal is still to be done with it this year. So it's but you know, it's funny because you just see the ignorance online where people are like, oh, Nick Cannon's scared, he cancels the Dr. Sebi documentary because he's scared for his life. Like, come on, man. Like,
however, Dr. Sebi was well prepared for what was to come if he decided to take the road not taken. He made headlines when he boldly claimed to have cured AIDS. And that's when he knew that they were going to come for him sooner or later, which is exactly what ended up happening. Still, Dr. Sebi's words are alive and well. The obstacles he faced are proof that he was onto something worth trying. Will you be making a switch to Dr. Sebi's diet? Let us know in the comment section.